Tomatoes. Probably one of the most ubiquitous crops grown in almost every single garden, basically around the whole world. They're very easy to grow and prolific depending on the variety you choose. They are in the nightshade family and require a trellis to support them and their crop. Let's see an easy way to actually make a trellis that allows easy access to fruits and maintenance of your tomato plants. Hello everyone, welcome to Grow Note, the garden at Royal Oaks Nurtured. Here are my tomatoes that I'm growing this year. I have 7 different varieties, and I have 4 of each variety, and I have some more in pots. I'm working on my tour video, so be prepared for that. But since I have so many tomatoes, I need a reliable trellis that I can easily access and maintain my tomato plants. So this year, we're going with the rope string method. Cages just seem to have so many problems. Hard to stick our hand through, you have to stack them on top if the tomatoes get too tall, and there are just so many other complications. So we're basically going off of the idea of Josh Satin from Satin Hill Farms, and a lot of people have made videos of kind of the trellis style that he made. So if you haven't seen his channel to see the original design, go check that out. It's a really easy way to grow tomatoes. So over here I have this graphic that I kind of made for you to see and kind of understand the plan easier, and I have some reference directions here. So the top, long side, and short side, and if I say long bar, that means the bar along the long side, short bar means the bar along the short side, and tall bar means like a vertical bar, which is represented by these green poles here. Now what these green poles are they are the T-posts that we have. They're there to represent the T-posts, and on it we're going to be zip tying these conduit bars, and the conduit is galvanized, and we're going 7 feet off from the height of the bed. And if you don't have T-posts, you can use rebar, but since we have T-posts, we're going to be using T-posts, so just zip tie them on. Now over here in the red circle you can see the rebar, which we're going to be using for the center, because T-posts are a little more expensive than rebar. So instead of putting in a whole bunch of new T-posts, we're just going to be putting a rebar for the center pole. So now we have 6 poles here aligned at 7 feet height. And now we're going to be putting in the long bars. To do that, we're just going to be laying them across and connecting them with T-joints. So once again, to hold these bars up, hold the tall bars up, you can use either rebar or T-posts. Since we have T-posts, we're using T-posts, and for the remaining center pole, we're going to be using rebar. So now you see we have put the long bars across, and at these circles you want to put in a T-joint. And we're just going to be using PVC because we have that lying around already, and it's going to be a little bit of a loose fitting because these poles are 1/2 inch wide, and so that's what we're going to be doing, because we already have PVC and they work fine. They're like 3/4 inch. And then after that we're going to be laying these short bars across. So here you can see this is the actual setup. Here's the T-post, and you can see the rebar in the center there, and then over here this is the other T-post, and the conduit's already zip tied onto it. Sorry, the garden's a bit messy because we're working on the cleanup, and hopefully by the time we do the garden tour it'll be nice and clean. So anyways, you can see that I've put in the end tall pole or tall bars, and I still have to measure them. And to measure them, there is a technique that you can use, which I will show you. But it's very simple to connect these. You just need to zip tie them, and it is loose. And as you can see, it's not. I haven't put any stopper at the bottom, but it is a bit loose. So if I kind of push it, it will come down. So you can see. We will be putting a stopper there soon, so it doesn't keep sliding down like that. So, but anyways, to measure it, you just want to keep your foot at the ground or whatever you're going to be measuring up from. I'm going to be measuring up from the top of the bed, and what you want to do is you want to put a bend here. So then you can just push the tape up to measure the 7 feet, This is just a trick that you can use. For me, it's not much of a problem. I can stretch my hand up if I need to. But basically what this is that it's an easier way of measuring 7 feet if you're kind of a shorter person, so you don't have to stretch your hand all the way up, and then you can adjust the pole from there. So you can see mine's already almost at about 7 feet. Now, very easy, just zip tie it on. That's pretty straightforward. And so now we have these done, and now we're just going to be putting the center pole, which we are using the rebar. You just hammer the rebar in and then you put the center pole. And the center pole will be measuring from the ground up, so remember that. Now we're going to be placing the long bar, and for that, the easier way to do it is slide your PVC T-joints right now instead of waiting until putting it on. So you can see, once I let go of my hand, you can see those T-joints. You could just put a T-joint on each of these tall bars, but that's much harder to do. So now you can see it is loose because the T-joints are 3/4 inch and the pole, the bars are 1/2 inch. But I'm just going to align it now and we'll be done. Now for the short bars, what we're going to need is this conduit cutter. And basically what you want to do is you want to mark the bar where you're going to cut it, and then you want to use this conduit cutter. So you can see the blade is here, there's some rollers. It's much heavier than it looks. It's pretty small, but it's pretty heavy as well. So now what you want to do is you just want to line this conduit cutter up onto the mark you've made. Now there are markings on the conduit bar, but they're not very convenient because they don't have any numbers on them. So you had to measure 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. They are by inches. So basically you just use a measuring or tape measure and just measure the length that you need to cut. Then you want to tighten this here and just make sure it's lined up. That's pretty important. Tighten it and start turning it. You want to make it nice and tight. So you want to turn it, and once you've gone one full rotation, so about now, you want to tighten it again. So because it will keep on getting easier as you do more rotations. Once it gets easy, you want to tighten it up again. So once I cut this conduit bar, I'll get back to you. So you can see here, I have finished just about now. Yep, I have finished cutting the conduit. And it is a pretty smooth cut. The conduit's actually pretty thick. It's pretty impressive how this tool can actually cut through this metal. But anyways, that's what it's meant for. So now we're just going to be placing the short bar. So what we just cut there is the short bar, and it's about 5 feet long if you want the measurement. And my bed is an 8x4 bed. And what you want to do is you want to line it up on top of a row of tomatoes. So I have 7 rows, so I'm going to be cutting 7 short bars, and I'm going to line them each up above one of my rows of tomatoes. And the way that we're going to be connecting this would be using zip ties. So you just want to do some diagonal zip tying here. Here you can see I've placed all of them, and I made sure that I lined them up above my rows of tomatoes. So now we're going to be getting to the rope part. So now here you can see I'm going to be tying the plants with rope. So I've used a combination here of jute and nylon, because just for some extra strength, I'm just trying these 2 ropes together at the first time, and we'll see how it goes. So this basically allows for kind of an easier access to the plants, because when we were using the cages, it was pretty hard to reach through. But over here you can see I've put some line along the bottom. Basically what I've done is I've put a line basically everywhere wherever you have put the bars. So if there's 7 short bars, I put 7 lines, and along where the long bars are, I've placed 2 long lines. So it's like a mirror image of what's up, and I've just replicated that down here with rope. Then what I've done is I've placed a rope on the short bar, or on the short line, twirled it through the plant and brought it all the way up to the short bar, which is on the structure itself. So it's a pretty time-taking process, and and that's what I'm going to be doing this morning. This is the second morning because it got too dark. But anyways, so here's a quick trick to actually tie your rope over the bar. So I had to use a stool to reach up, but basically what you want to do is you want to make this kind of a slip knot here. But you can see I've tied it up to the short bar and I've tied it down to the short line and twirled the plant in between. So now you can see that the trellis here is finished and it looks pretty nice, and you can see it has rain. There's a few dewdrops up there. And this is actually one of the best ways to trellis your tomato plants. And the best thing is you can easily access the fruit, you can easily pollinate, you can easily prune and take off suckers. With the cages, it was so hard to stick my hand through and pull those suckers off. And the best thing is it's very low maintenance. Just all you have to do is twist it around. Some people, they just take like zip ties or plastic clips and clip their plant on, but we just decided to just twirl it around. And this works great for indeterminate tomatoes, which is what we're growing this year. It also looks very nice too. As it's finished, it looks kind of strong, and it is pretty strong. Since we're not growing like a farm load of tomatoes, we're just using a 1/2-inch tubing. So that's it for this video. And if you're looking for a new way to trellis your tomatoes, or just for a new project, try out this trellis. This is Grono reminding you to grow young and grow old. Thank you for watching.